I can imagine there are certain people around the world looking at you as a company. Like, I see you as freedom fighters,
Yeah.
but I can imagine there's some people around the world like, who the fuck are these guys and why are they helping
Yeah.
terrorists and drug dealers? Whereas you're really not. You're helping the common man,
Exactly.
protect himself about the massive encroachment of the state into everything we do, which, by the way, is getting obscene and ridiculous. Who was it we had we had our meetup the other day, and the guy running the meetup, he went to the bank, NatWest Bank, he put it up on Twitter, and they're basically saying, if you want to spend certain amounts of money, what was it, like up to £2,000, we might not let you have that money.
Withdrawal cash, you mean, right?
It's like, what the fuck? I have it now. Almost every invoice I get paid from my business, I'm having to send proof of contracts, and it's like getting ridiculous.
Yeah. It's super inefficient. Like, and it's such a massive waste, the surveillance system, and just it decreases the human potential and the human flourishing. It's like it's really serious. So we need to do something about it. Like, there's reasons why all of these existing financial regulations are there. Because the existing financial system is fully based on credit and debt. Right? And if if you borrow someone else money, you want to know who that person is, obviously, right? Because you want to get it back in the future, the money. Right?
But do you get letters from agencies or government agencies or people that are like saying, hey, we're not so sure about what you're doing over there, brother?
Yeah, sure. But then, well, I mean, what's the answer to that, right? And
go fuck yourself. That's what you do. Tell them to go fuck themselves.
Well, partially, I guess, yeah. But one of the cool things is we designed our service in a way that the user reveals the absolute minimum amount of information to us. We don't know your IP address. We don't know your name. We don't know which coins you have. We don't know your XPub. And we know very little about you.
So you're not money transmitters?
Well, no, we're a chat room. We're a communications provider. Right? Users come to us to send messages back and forth, right? And we manage the access right into this chat room, basically. And you can only get into our chat room if you provide an input onto the CoinJoin. Right?
A chat room.
It's literally a chat room, really. We're sending messages back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Yeah.
We don't touch your money. We don't tell you what to do with your money. We're a chat room.
I mean, I think what you're doing is amazing. I think it's very cool, and you've made it a lot easier. You've done that thing where you've now bridged the gap for usability for morons like me to use it, and that's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Like, if you're a criminal, you're probably under a lot of risk, and you probably have a lot of money because I guess you just stole it. So you have a very high incentive to protect your privacy, and you're willing to spend a lot of money on that, right? A lot of money, a lot of time. But the average Joe doesn't. If you're just the average Joe, why would you spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to protect your privacy? It doesn't make sense, right? But still, you want to have the privacy very much. You just don't want to have it that expensive, Criminals don't care if it's expensive and complicated. Honest people do.
Yeah.
And that's the vision of Wasabi 2.0, right? Like, I don't want criminals using the software, obviously. I mean, I can't do anything to prevent them to a large extent. But I want real people, honest people to use this. And those that don't even have that much available capital, basically, to protect themselves. It should be easy. It should be for everyone, and that's the vision of Wasabi 2.0. Like, I'm thinking that the percentage of actual criminals that are now using Wasabi 2.0 is going to plummet like crazy, because the average Joe, he's going to use Wasabi too, because why not? It's easy and it's cheap and it just works, So that means much more honest users are going to join us. And, well, I guess criminals probably are going to decrease as well. I don't know. But in any case, the percentage is going to be just mostly good people,
How much does all the stuff that's happened with Tornado Cash over the last week or so worry you?
Yeah, it worries me a lot. It's crazy, like there's a bunch of incumbent regulation on money service providers and banks, and these rules were designed for the old system. And now we have this complete new system, and the rules don't apply anymore. And if they, like, if you would consistently apply those rules, you would be breaking every single human right that there is,
But governments don't care about breaking human rights.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's their definition.
So for me, the risk factor here is you guys as individuals and the code base. Is there anything they can do? Like, can the code base be out there and decentralized and no one can touch it?
So 2.5 years ago, when we started the Wasabi Research Club, we asked exactly that question, right? Do we need to have a central coordinator, a central provider of the service? Or wouldn't it be better if it's decentralized?
But like Bitcoin Core.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, if you're doing decentralized stuff, it's bloody difficult. Like, there's a reason why it took us 40 years to discover Bitcoin, after the first eCash system that we had, because it's difficult to do things decentralized. And we figured out the same thing. Like, if there are decentralized CoinJoin protocols, they're super slow, they're super complex, they're super expensive, and they just don't work as well, So unfortunately, the CoinJoin model works really well if you have just a central chat room. It's much simpler.
What is the risk there, though? Like, where is it? Like, you might tell me if you can't answer it, but like, is it an obvious place it's hosted? And can the hosting provider be targeted and say, you shouldn't host that software anymore?
Sure, right? The person who runs the computer can pull out the cable. Yes, that can happen.
Can you obfuscate that by hosting it via a Tor, like on the Tor network?
We do host our server behind a Tor and on the inside, but also on ClearNet. Like, we're not trying to hide at all. Like, that, I don't think that would work in the long run either. So no, we're pretty public because like what we're doing is legal. Absolutely. Yeah. And we've heard that from numerous law agencies, numerous lawyers, numerous FinCEN equivalents in different jurisdictions. We're not a money service provider. We don't touch your money. We're a chat service.
Yeah, I know that. And I understand all of that. What I'm saying is that I know what the state will think you enable. Like, we used to have that guy who sponsored the podcast, that wallet Dropbit. And it turns out years ago he was running a mixer. Okay. And he got arrested. I can't remember I don't even know the state of his thing, but he's facing
a long time.
A long time in prison.
Definitely.
And do you know what he was doing? He was allowing people to hide their transactions because they wanted to buy things on dark markets and protect themselves, which is absolute right. People should have. They should have that privacy. I got into Bitcoin buying something on a dark market for my mother to treat her cancer. I would love that hidden. Absolutely, people deserve that right. But he's accused of running a mixer. He's now potentially facing like more than a decade in jail.
I mean, the Tornado Cash CEO has gone through the same thing. It was reported today that he's been arrested.
He's been arrested?
Yes.
What's the difference? Allegedly. What's the difference between you and them?
The difference between the first example is that the first example is custodial.
Yeah.
Right. It was that custodial mixer. You sent money to someone else. And that's a bank. That's a money warehouse. And even though the regulations that we currently have are old and antique, they still apply in that case. And there's a reason why they apply. Right? But because the guy can run away with your money, obviously. Well, we can't do that. Right? We're a non-custodial thing.
Yeah, but that's not why they were pissed at him.
Well, exactly, that's true, but that's where there's an incredibly important legal and ethical difference here, right? It's very crucial to state that there is a difference between a bank and a chat service, right? There's a huge difference, And but on the other hand, Tornado Cash is one example. That's a somewhat decentralized protocol, where the server is even run on the Ethereum blockchain, right? So this is a smart contract, so to say, And that got sanctioned, and the developer of that is now apparently arrested.
So what stops you getting sanctioned and arrested?
It's a really good question. I'm hoping it is a accurate enforcement of the law, because I that's one thing. And then the other thing is that I'm not sure if that changed anything, but we now do start to blacklist certain coins from entering our service, or from using our service, more accurately.
What, like FATA ones? Is it FATA? FTA?
FTA, yeah.
Sanctioned addresses.
Sanctioned, and in more general terms, like criminals, stealers, murderers, violation of private property rights.
How do you recognize which are the sanctioned or the addresses that you blacklist?
We work with a surveillance firm, basically a private investigator, one of those chain analysis clones.
Who I call him fucks.
Likewise.
Yeah. So, okay, that's fine. Has there been any negative reaction to that? Like, I'm not opposed to that. I don't like, if you're stopping criminals use it so you can provide a service to people who aren't criminals, I think that's great. But I also know how pure and ideological some Bitcoiners are. In their view, some people have been like, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, definitely.
I
definitely.
thought
the
so.
backlash was huge,
Yeah.
huge and understandable, right? But and I think one of the reasons for it is that Bitcoin is a decentralized monetary protocol, and here having censorship resistance is just absolutely integral. If you don't have that, the money system breaks down.
That's censorship resistance address. You're a service.
Exactly. That's the huge difference.
You're a
right?
private service. That's like saying a pub should be censorship resistant and anyone can walk in that place and have a beer.
Exactly.
It's my fucking pub. You can't
Exactly.
come in.
That's why there are dress codes in restaurants.
Yeah,
It's the
dress
exact
codes in
same thing.
restaurants. No Tottenham fans in my football club. Fuck them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So that's my argument. Like, we as the entrepreneur have absolutely the ethical right to choose our customers, and I would even argue a somewhat moral responsibility to actively not choose criminals as our customers, because I don't want to make their life easier.
But one man's criminal. Another man's really fair.
Yeah. The definition of who's criminal and stuff is just super difficult. And I think, well, the free market to some extent solves that, because if let's say we would be blacklisting, all the peaceful protesters, all the Canadian truckers and all of these, well, then hopefully customers would get annoyed and they would call us out publicly and stop using the service, and we make less money and we go bankrupt. I hope that will be the case of happening, So I believe that also the merchant has a somewhat moral duty to not work with criminals, and then the customers have somewhat of a moral duty to call out their entrepreneurs when they're making immoral mistakes. And arguably, harassing peaceful individuals is not all right. I just hope that we can experiment with these incredibly difficult questions without relying on central authority and compelled rules. I think this is way too early to make these clear cases now, because we just don't know what's going on. This is such a cutting edge, revolutionary technology in principle that we need to stay flexible, I think, at this moment, and we need to have that free market feedback mechanism of where should we go. It's tough. It's really difficult. Yeah.
The one thing, like, I desperately hope not, but I'm kind of resigned to the fact that I imagine most services like this might be blacklisted at some point in the future. Do you think there's a future where that doesn't happen?
You mean that users of Wasabi are blacklisted when they deposit money into a bank, for example? Or that the coordinators
Well, I guess that's
blacklisting
kind of
everyone?
already happening, isn't it? The first one. But I think maybe using the service.
Talk me through that. What's that happening?
So basically, that was some users used Wasabi and then sent the money to, for example, BlockFi to deposit their money and lend it out at their service. BlockFi did some surveillance and looking where does that money come from, and they see that it's coming from a Wasabi coin join. So they're saying, hey, that's way too risky for us. Even though we know who you are and everything, we're just going to shut down your account, basically. And hopefully they send you the money back. And that happened numerous times. That was one of the many reasons why we decided to start curating our customer base, to hopefully reduce this. If there's no illegal coins on the input side of a coin join, then it doesn't really make sense to blacklist all of the user of that coin join.
So it was because there was some on the input side.
Arguably.
Yeah.
But then it gets into the tricky question of, like, once you've coin joined, how many hops is it until you're not that person?
Yeah. And that, by the way, that depends on the end customer. It does not depend on the chain surveillance software itself. Mm-hmm. They just tell you, hey, this address was an incident, and the address that you're looking at now is 4 hops away from that incident, for example. And then it's up to you if you say, okay, that's all right or that's not all right. Mm-hmm. And so this BlockFi, for example, could have made a different decision here. They were not forced by the chain surveillance company.
Oh, interesting.
In that extent.
Yeah, I mean, something like that. I think they're kind of like they're trying to take the cleanest approach possible, least risky approach possible.
Yeah.
At a time, being under pressure from the SEC, etc., etc.
Yeah,
and they're not a sponsor anymore, so I don't even have to defend them for the sake of defending them.
Yeah, no, but here again, this is a very new and cutting edge phenomena, like all of this. So I don't blame BlockFi for being uncertain and for erring on the side of caution. I think that absolutely makes sense. I just hope that they get sufficient enough feedback from their customers to then consider changing their position. Because if you start let's say Wasabi 2.0 is successful, all peaceful people start using it. And all of a sudden, if you as a business would start blacklisting blanket statement all Wasabi users, you're going to lose 80% of your customers.
Yeah.
You know, are you still going to do it? Maybe, well, maybe not. So that's why I'm thinking we just need more time to experiment with this. You know, this is just way too early. And we'll see how it goes in the future and how that back and forth goes. But, and again, here, I think customer feedback is essential. You know, and not just the feedback that you give for the wallet of how to make better, but, you know, exactly these types of conversations. It's very much needed.